everybody, here we are, 2017 in upstate New York. Well, I hope you weren't too depressed that there wasn't a video last week, but I'm sure you were in the middle of Christmas festivities, so you're probably surrounded by children and things can't get much worse than that, can they? Anyway, it's about 120 degrees below freezing outside and we've got about 15 feet of snow. So a couple of days ago I got a couple of bottles of Nuki Brown and a pork pie and I set off from the house and tunnelled my way down here just to make a video for you. So let me take the clobber off and we'll do some workshop stuff. First thing we're going to do for our 300cc conversion is get this liner out of the B25 barrel. So we're going to put it in here, set it to regular 7. There's a blast from the past there for those of you, or do they still have that in the UK? Regular 7. Okay, and there we go. Now this takes a while, so I can tell you some jokes, sing a song, or we could just let it take its course. Let's see how our recipe is coming along. Not quite cooked. We'll give it a bit longer. It should literally just drop out of there. I know the ones out the holding the cylinder did. I took it out of here and they just so give it a couple more minutes. There we go. An old piston with its rings on. You know, this filming lark brings out, God, that's hot. Brings out the worst in everything. I've never had one of these cut. That's hot. I've never had one of these take this much to get out. But as you have seen, it stopped again. Making me look like a complete idiot. Bugger! Alright. Nearly there. Alright, let's see if it can be third time lucky. Come on, you brute. It's nearly out. Look at that. What is holding that in? Tell you what, we're not in the least bit interested in this liner, are we? Yeah, little bugger! Bing! Off! Well, where'd my piston roll to? There it is! This was just going to be a scrap piston anyway, so don't worry about it, people. Anyway, there's our liner out. Some marks on the inside, but again, we're not bothered because all that's going to be bored out. Right, so the next thing with this is to do the machining. So let's see what can go wrong there. Now we've got it set up on the milling table. I've got it clamped down through the pushrod tunnel and then 2 toe clamps here on that. I've got it set on a couple of parallels which lift it high enough to let the boring head go all the way through, and also I've made sure the 2 parallels are far enough apart so the boring head isn't going to touch them. So what I'm going to do now is just tram this to make sure it's right fore and aft and side to side. So this thing reads in half thous, so let me zoom you in. That was clever, wasn't it? Alright, here we go. Well, maybe 1/4 of a thou. And as I'm not exactly sure how perfect these faces are, I'm quite happy with that. So that's in one direction. Here we go the other way. And we're about a half a thou that way. So I am quite happy with that. Next thing is to find our centre. I couldn't decide here whether to bore the barrel and then turn the liner to fit, or turn the liner and then bore the barrel to fit. But it struck me that as I have 4 of these, which cost me a couple of dollars a piece, I would do the cylinder first, then turn the liner, and if the liner was wrong, it goes in the scrap, and I've got 3 more chances. So let's find the centre using my nifty coaxial thing here. Alright, it says to set this thing running up to 800 RPM, but it seems a little excessive to me. So what we do is we set it going, and you move in one axis at a time. We're going to try and reduce the bounce of the needle. So we're going what, 40 to 20. Whoops, that's worse. So we'll go the other way. back. Right, let's try the other axis. Well, this is looking good. Bigger again, so we'll come back on that. Fine tune this one. Oops, too far. Now of course the inside of this bore isn't perfect. I'm trying not to get my head in front of the camera while I look at this, but oops. I don't know if I'll get much better than that. No. Maybe bouncing one. Let's see if we can move this around. How's that look like? That's about one, and each division is a half a thou. So I'm going to go with that. Right, I'm all set up now. Lock the table down and everything. Put our boring head in, which has got a boring bar with an insert, and I've just been talking to a friend of mine who runs the machine shop, and we're going to take some very careful cuts because he pointed out to me that the carbide type inserts tend to clog up a little bit because of the way they cut, so we might have to go to a high speed steel cutter. Something I didn't know was the 3-inch square ones fit in the 1/2-inch hole, so there's something. So he suggested round about 400 RPM, so let's start with that. I'm using the power feed as well. Seems to be throwing the chips off alright, so our fingers crossed this will work. Well, I just noticed this toe clamp is fractionally too far in. So let us deal with that. I'm glad I spotted that. Never walk away and leave things. Okay. Alright, let's see what that looks like. I hope you're watching this, Dick. By the way, if anything goes wrong, it's Dick's fault. But nothing moved, so our clamping is good. Oh, that's nice. Very good. Okay, we can measure this. I'd set the boring head to 0, so now I can measure this and see where we want to go. So I'm going to switch you off and get set up to start taking some more cuts, and then we'll put you back on again. Can you see the finish there, Dick? Very nice. And you, Dave. Oh, by the way, for those of you who don't know, Steam Shop Dave wimps out in the winter. He and his charming wife set off and go south to Florida. Which makes them, a little term we have here, a snowbird. Because as soon as we get some snow, they all disappear down south, live a life of Riley down there. I'm measuring this, but I don't really need to, because as I say, what I've decided is we'll do this to keep it just nice, just off the oilways, and then we'll do the liner to suit this. But I'm just interested to see what we've got. Alright. So there we have 2 inches 8 1 2 7 5 8 6 2 8 8 6, which is totally irrelevant when you think about it, because we're more or less working in millimeters. But anyway, I'm just going to take this out until we get to just shy of the oil holes, and then I'll measure it, and then we'll know what to take the barrel to. So I won't bore you with watching lots more of it. I'll come back when we're nearly done. As we're wondering about the finish we were going to get with the new insert tool I'd bought, I wanted to show you as best I can a close up of the barrel. That is so smooth, you wouldn't believe. It worked perfectly. And here are, Dick, just to show you, there's the chips. The chips just came off. Nice little curly chips. The tool didn't gum up at all. So whether it's the tool, which these Mesa tool people really rave about, or whether it's the grade of alloy, but anyway, it cut nicely. So I've just measured this, and let me look at my notes here. It's 3.088 inches. Now, I checked with LA Sleeve, who are the sort of liner people here in the States, and in their universal fit type range, they do a 74mm ID, which is what I want for those pistons, 16th inch wall, and they make it about 12 inches long, and they cut it to the size you want. But the thing is, that would give us an OD for their liner, where are we, 3.038 inches, or just over 77 millimeters. And the spigot, the alloy part that goes down into the cases here, is 79.299. So you would actually have some alloy left with that. So what I've done is I've split the difference a little bit. I haven't taken it right out so that spigot disappeared as we were originally planning. But I'm not going to try and turn the liner down to the 16th inch wall. So we're going to have some spigot left, which will be nice, and it all should go together well. So the last thing I have to do is to make the little recess in the top here for that to go into. Now, there's the original liner, and the lip on this is 1/8 of an inch. And the lip on this is like 5/16, I think. In fact, we won't even guess. We'll measure it. So let's have a look. I tell a lie, it's 3/16. And on this, it's barely 1/8. I don't even think it's quite 1/8. So as I'm worried about the little oil holes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this the same depth, but I'm only going to make it 1/8, and then we'll turn this down, because I reckon if the BSA engineers, although they might have had their shortcomings in the way they put things to be worked on, I'm sure they worked out all the forces, and they felt that the 1 inch there was quite enough for this cylinder liner to be held in. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this out 1/8 and down, backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards, and we're going to take it down 0.191. .192 there. There might be some mock on this, of course. 1915. So we know we're set to here, so I can just dial in the amount I need to go out for the 1/8, and we'll use the DRO that I've got on the quill to go down the required amount. So let me get that set up, and then we'll start you up again. Very slight change of plan here. I was going to use the DRO and bring the quill down to take the reading there, but I don't have the the handle for the fine feed for this mill. It's on order. So I thought the better thing to do would be to use the knee and use the scale on that. I've just checked it against the DRO and they're absolutely spot on. So what we're going to do is we're going to set this and then raise the knee up, the whatever it was I said that I've written down. So let's move this in 30 thou, which I was getting a nice cut with. All right. So we'll set that as our 0. We're just touching off there. Glasses on. Put it in gear. Always helps. Oh, come on. There we go. I suppose I could have done this with the power feed and watched the quill, but 60. there we go. So we'll take it out. Well, I'll measure it, we'll take it out, and I'll show you the finished product. So here's the finished article. You could see, as I mentioned, we broke into those oil holes, but when we've got the liner in, I'll put it back in the mill and centre it, and we'll just use an end mill to get those to cut into the actual liner, just that fraction. As I say, finish is beautiful, came out really nicely. All the measurements are spot on. The only minor thing was a little bit broke out of there, but that's nothing. I'll sort that out. One nice thing which eased my palpitations was when I measured the thickness of this, it's 16th thou all the way around. So we were absolutely centered on that. So there we go. That's that done. Next stage is to wherever it's gone, get our liner and turn this to fit in there. And I think I'm going to give it about 3 thou for the shrink fit. So I'm going to make this about 3 thou bigger than that, and then we'll heat this up. That'll go in, and then, as I say, we'll just use the off camera there. We'll just cut these into there so that the oil holes are lined up. And I think what I'll do as well, just to be on the safe side when we're completely finished, is, as you're going to see when we do this, I'm making up, as I mentioned, well, no, I haven't mentioned it yet, I made up a big mandrel to fit in that. So when it's all put together, I'm going to put it back on the mandrel this way around, and we'll just skim across there to make sure this is all perfectly flat. So, next stage.